All over the world, primary schools are grappling with the issues associated with online teaching. In England, we've got unique problems because it seems that our schools are subject to policies that prevent any teacher who is not a designated safeguarding lead talking directly to and teaching online with children and parents at home. Typically, policies say things like you have to have a second member of staff present if you're doing video conferencing. Now, I haven't yet been able to puzzle out the extent to which these policies are nationally driven, where exactly they come from, how much they vary from school to school. So if you can help me with any of the details of this, please do post any information you have in the comments to this video on YouTube, where I will see them. But wherever these policies come from, they seem to be pretty universal in English schools, and they don't exist in other countries that have raced ahead with online teaching. I've been chasing these issues hard at national level, at policy level over the last week or so, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I've had no clear answers yet, and Parliament closes tonight. To me, it's absolutely obvious that in the situation we're now in, the safeguarding issues associated with teachers not being able to contact home are much more serious than the safeguarding issues associated with them being able to contact home. When you see what's going on internationally and how vibrant online teaching has become, especially in primary schools, and how teachers are doing physical exercises with their kids and entertaining them and having a great time with them, it's really clear how much we're missing out on. But of course, we do need to work through all these issues properly. Hopefully policy will change quite quickly, but for now we are where we are. If things aren't resolved today and it needs to be solved in Parliament, Parliament will not be back until at least after Easter. So I'm making this video to explain how teachers are working sensibly around these rules and they're able to get going with online teaching. So let's focus on the three key things that teachers are allowed to do. They are allowed to communicate with home via recorded messaging systems. They are allowed to teach online provided it's not live, so they can set and mark work online. And of course, the designated safeguarding leads and people with similar accreditation, or the DSLs as I'm now going to call them in this video, they can contact home and they're going to be doing incredibly important work. So before I talk about what ordinary classroom teachers can do, let's just talk a little bit about the DSLs and the reality that as a team of staff you need to free them up as much as possible, because in most schools they're going to have a big caseload to deal with, and there will be new emerging issues as children find themselves under stress at home because their parents are under new stresses and strains that didn't exist before. So the DSLs will need to be thoroughly plugged in to the emergency networks, and they will quickly find out how they're working. They're being set up and run by unitary authorities or upper tier county councils where you've got more than one layer of administrative authority. And those networks will be there to back them up and help them resolve issues at home. So as soon as they feel that DSLs have that backup, schools can be contacting home saying, are you facing issues? Or phoning home with the families they know are likely to be facing issues and trying to work out what's going on and organise backup for those families. Okay, so let's get back to the roles of the ordinary classroom teachers. In general, at this stage, most teachers gave children a pile of work or a file of work as they went out the door on Friday, and there's been no contact since. So the first thing is that it should be possible to set up some kind of messaging system, whether that's email or a class dojo, or it's based on a more substantial learning platform. We want to be getting to some kind of state where you can send work home and parents can contact you if they need clarification about tasks or if they're just stuck and want some help on how to explain something to their children. And that's going to be a huge benefit to parents, because all of a sudden they're going to be able to say to their children, it's not just me pushing you to do this, you've got to do it or you'll be in trouble with your teacher. And of course that's going to be a huge help to them in organising their own homes, provided you don't set too much work. One important practical point, as you set up your communication systems, you need to think about this being a team exercise. And what I mean there is that if the link is just between you as the teacher and home, what happens if you disappear from the equation for whatever reason? That's going to cause huge stress. You need to be operating as a team. If there's several of you teaching the same year group, obviously that's very easy to do, and you can quickly get children used to dealing with any of you. If that's not the case, then it's more complex, but it also needs to be done. So that was step 1, which was setting up two-way messaging with home. Step 2 is getting going with online teaching, and if you're going to do your messaging through a platform for online teaching, this may happen at the same time. So the feedback I'm getting is that up to about year 1, schools are absolutely loving Tapestry as a platform for communicating with home and setting tasks. That's going really well. I think there's still a subscription to play on that. It might be worth negotiating with your local authority if you don't have it already. And from year 2 upwards, the feedback internationally for Seesaw, which is free, has just been awesome. Teachers absolutely love it. Of course, you might use Microsoft Teams or Google Classroom. There's pretty much every learning platform under the sun is being used. You will need one. And at the minute, you can only use it asynchronously. That is, not communicating with home live. But that may come later. So you should be able to use your online platform to set some really great tasks. And again, you need to think about operating as a team so that teachers can spell each other on and off. And if we're running through holidays, people can take time off, and if people are ill, they can take time off, and it's not really obvious. Speaking of online international forums that you can learn so much from, I'd like to mention the Educator Temporary School Closure group on Facebook, which is huge and really well run, and you can find out pretty much anything there very quickly from people who are doing it. That is one vast Facebook group with over 100,000 members, and it's pretty much impossible to chat in the main group because it's just too big, but there are loads of breakout groups. Let me just mention a few. We've got a UK group, there's an early years group, lower primary, year 4, upper primary. There are also groups for teachers who are also parents, for teacher well-being, and there are lots more. And in those smaller groups, you really can have detailed conversations. So if you're into Facebook groups, I really recommend that. My third and final point brings us back to the unique challenges we're facing in our English primary schools due to the safeguarding barriers. As soon as you're able to communicate with home, you need to be puzzling out which families, which children are under serious stress and referring those back to your DSLs. Once you're setting and marking tasks, you can ask children to write about or draw about what it's like to be learning from home, and that'll give you a real insight into what's going on and whether they're okay or not. And if they complain that their parents won't make their food and wait on them hand and foot, you can encourage them to do it themselves.
That's not me. He's just going that way.
If you're wondering who I am, then just for transparency, I'm someone who's been running teacher training in primary schools for quite a few years now, and I previously lectured in education at MMU and for the Open University. And before that, of course, I was a teacher. I've become a YouTuber in order to free share the training that I've been running, which is something that I'm passionate about because it's been working really well in schools. I'm also a county councillor and I'm used to working on national policies, so I've come to understand how often it's the case that you assume things are getting done and are being sorted and it's actually not happening, which is why I'm trying to raise the profile of these issues and stimulate discussion. My views are entirely my own, so if you disagree with them or you think I've missed things or got things wrong, please, please, please add comments explaining why or what it is I've missed on YouTube, because I really want to know. We want to build this discussion so that rapid progress can be made to sort issues out and improve things. But for now, I just want to say huge best wishes, love and respect to all our primary teachers and everyone working in our primary schools. You're absolutely amazing and you're hugely appreciated. And if you're absolutely terrified of teaching online, you are certainly not alone. It seems about 50% of teachers are looking at the forums. So here's a quick final tip. To get you over your fear, try to get involved in a Zoom meeting. Get someone, maybe a friend, to set up a Zoom conference call. If you're someone who is quite confident, set it up with your colleagues who probably aren't. And during your first Zoom, you can play around with how you look online, Positioning the camera high is quite helpful. You don't want people looking up your nose. You might want to work with still frames of yourself rather than actual live video. Might be more comfortable with that. If you've got the latest version of Zoom, you can change your background to screen out your home, which is fantastic if the only place that you can broadcast from is your bedroom because the rest of the house is overrun with other members of your family. And it's the only place you can get internet, which happens. Once you've done your first Zoom, you won't be so afraid. This kind of Zoom session is free if you didn't know. Good luck with your journey. Bye for now.